Genevieve Abernathy works as a receptionist at a pharmaceutical company. Dividing her time between college and work made life busy and a bit difficult at times. But when Genevieve found herself in an affordable apartment in a small neighborhood and learned how to lower her expenses, she managed to make things flow smoothly in her life. It was during this time that Genevieve received news from a distant family member that the sister of her maternal grandmother, Agnes Wayne, had suddenly passed away. The person who had called Genevieve to inform her of the news told her that the death of her grandmother Agnes was so tragic. She had suffered a lot before she passed away. Genevieve tried to remember the last time she had seen her grandmother's sister. She had only vague memories from when she was a child. Grandma Agnes lived in a grand mansion in Manville, Louisiana. Genevieve's mother wasn't so fond of her aunt, Agnes, and as a matter of fact, none of their relatives were in any way close with Grandma Agnes. There was a lot of gossip that went on in the family about her. She was very well known for being somewhat eccentric. The whole family and others that knew Agnes all suspected she was up to no good. They said she was involved in black magic, and oftentimes they even accused her of being a witch. They all whispered amongst each other that inside Grandma Agnes's mansion were certain hidden things with which she performed her despicable rituals. But despite the fact that everyone in the family had harsh things to say about Grandma Agnes, it didn't hold Genevieve back. The woman was very successful and had acquired an immense amount of wealth over her lifetime. Genevieve had never actually visited her grandmother's sister or been to her mansion, and the reason was because no one in the family, including her mother, dared go there. They all feared Agnes Wayne greatly, and it all started from a series of strange events that took place. Grandma Agnes was an ill-tempered woman, and she had a tendency of holding grudges against people. But what frightened everyone was that whoever happened to upset Grandma Agnes or get on her bad side somehow ended up getting harmed one way or the other. Like the time Uncle Lewis had gathered the courage to talk to Grandma Agnes about something she was doing. Genevieve was young at the time, and she didn't understand what the matter was about. But Grandma Agnes was highly offended that someone would meddle in her business. She cursed Uncle Lewis and insulted him before throwing him out of her house. It was in a matter of days that Uncle Lewis suddenly suffered a stroke, which paralyzed half of his body. It was shocking, because Uncle Lewis had no history of heart diseases, or any other diseases for that matter. The doctors couldn't figure what could have caused the sudden stroke, because not only was Uncle Lewis a healthy man, he was also very cheerful and always tried to stay positive. At last, they made the assumption that something must have tremendously frightened Uncle Lewis. And while Uncle Lewis was at the hospital, he struggled to speak, but he kept trying to say one thing. He was having nightmares, or someone was warning him this would happen. But it wasn't just Uncle Lewis's stroke that earned Grandma Agnes her notorious reputation. Things like this started to happen more often. It was always sudden and unexpected, and displeasing Grandma Agnes in the slightest way meant something terrible would happen. Another time, one of the caretakers at Grandma Agnes's mansion made a mistake. It was the gardener, and apparently he had damaged some of Grandma Agnes's plants. The man had suddenly caught a high fever that couldn't be brought down. It lasted about 2 weeks. The man eventually healed, but had some permanent health issues. He became blind in one eye and had severe nerve damage, and ended up having trouble pronouncing words properly due to stuttering. Over time, when things like this continued to happen, people started to keep their distance from Grandma Agnes, and some family members even cut off all relations with her in fear that they would be harmed as well. Genevieve didn't know if she should believe in the gossip or not. She knew that those people had actually become sick. But was it really a consequence of Grandma Agnes's wrath? Genevieve wasn't bothered by the rumors. She had something more important in mind. Ever since Genevieve had turned 18, she started working and living on her own. Genevieve's mother had passed away when she was young, and her father had married another woman and lived with her in Fresno, California. Genevieve had lived in Fresno a few years of her early teenage life. She personally waited for the day she could move out and live a life on her own. When Genevieve received news of Grandma Agnes's death, she hoped that she could claim some sort of inheritance from her, which would have been a great financial help for her at this moment. So Genevieve took leave from work and traveled to Louisiana. When she got there, she met many of her family members after a long time, some close and some distant, but they all had one thing to say, or rather complain about. They had all come for the same reason Genevieve had, and they were all disappointed that Grandma Agnes had left nothing for her family. But the question really should have been if Grandma Agnes ever had any family. Grandma Agnes had been a single woman for her entire life. She never got married or had any children. She had made a trust for all her property and made some arrangements for all her other wealth for when she would pass away, and she had made it clear that no one would receive anything from her. Despairingly, Genevieve walked down the long halls of the mansion. As Genevieve looked around, suddenly something brushed along her leg. She flinched and moved back, only to realize it was a cat. The cat had a collar on it. It was Grandma Agnes's cat. Genevieve always had a love for animals. She picked up the cat and cuddled it in her arms. She went to the drawing room where she found some of the caretakers. "Is this Grandma Agnes's cat?" "Yes, it is." "Who takes care of the cat now?" "Well, we take turns and manage. I think this little cat will be better off with me. I'm taking it back with me. I'm sure Grandma Agnes would appreciate someone taking special care of it." "Sure, that will be a great help actually." Genevieve spent the whole afternoon at the mansion before packing her things and taking the cat with her. She was just about to walk out the door when one of the elderly caretakers of the house ran up to her. "Dear, hold on there a minute. I heard you've decided to take your grandmother's cat." "Yes, I'll take good care of it, I promise." "I'm sure you will, but I don't think it would be wise to take the cat. I mean, you know your grandmother was involved in many unusual things. She was wrapped in many complicated things that I can't discuss out here at the moment. She never liked others prying through her affairs, and you already know she hasn't left any wealth for anyone in the family. I would advise you would advise you not to take the cat." "It's only the cat. I don't think Grandma would mind. Don't worry, I won't let anything bad happen to it." Genevieve didn't listen to the caretaker's warning, and she brought the cat back to Arlington. Genevieve took a lot of care of the cat. She stocked up on cat food and bought a litter and some toys. Things were going great. Genevieve enjoyed the new company. But one night, Genevieve's peaceful slumber was disrupted with a strange noise outside her room. Genevieve woke up and went out to see what the noise was about. She let out a shrieking scream when her eyes caught a horrendous sight. The cat was laying motionless on the floor. It was in a dreadful condition. There were long, thin marks all over the cat as if someone had hit it with a stick. Genevieve was upset, and more than that, she was frightened. She couldn't make sense of how this could happen. Had a thief broke into the apartment? Who could have done this? The sight was so disturbing. Genevieve gathered her courage and cleaned out the apartment and disposed the remains of the cats. She couldn't sleep the rest of the night. She tossed and turned in her bed trying to figure who had done such an evil thing and how he had done it in her apartment. Genevieve always made sure the locks were secure. There wasn't any sign of break-in, nor was anything moved around in her apartment. Nothing of the sort had happened in the building before. The next day went by awful. Genevieve was tired and drowsy. She couldn't wait to take some rest when she got home. But when Genevieve had finally dozed off that night, she woke up in the middle of the night after seeing a bad dream. She was shaking, drenched in sweat. She had never been so anxious before. The dream petrified Genevieve even more. She saw her late grandmother Agnes, and she kept hearing her say the same thing over and over again. "You took something that didn't belong to you." Genevieve became fearful. She suddenly remembered all the rumors that went on about Grandma Agnes within the family. Genevieve hadn't kept her promise. Grandma Agnes's beloved cat was no more because of her. Were these dreams the beginning of the wrath of Grandma Agnes? Would she have to suffer like the others who displeased her?
If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends and family.